Welcome to Jackson Stevens' Introduction to the Seven Dimensions. During the 2008 economic recession, hiring, especially at the executive level, changed so dramatically, typical executive search firms lost 60% of their revenue. Organizations were downsizing one week and reporting solid earnings the next. The search firm industry suffered with the worst placement rates in history. Jackson Stevens researched hiring practices by conducting highly discounted searches and placements at the executive level at rates that were 80% less than industry standard in exchange for candor from employers. We discovered that employers were asking more questions during the presentation of resumes than ever before. We isolated the 20 most common questions being asked at this level, and then we categorized them in three areas. Primary, questions that were absolutely critical for placement. Secondary, questions that added potential for increased salary. And tertiary, questions that provided context and relativity. We trademarked this process, the seven-dimensional employment and resume communication system, and virtually every executive we've shown this to since has wanted their resume built using the seven dimensions. Here they are. Let's start with primary. If an employer is going to hire an executive, they need to know that that executive has faced similar challenges in their career to the challenges they would face if they were hired in the new company. And they're going to want to know these challenges in at least 8 to 10 different categories. To prove the candidate's capability, they'll want to know what actions that candidate took, what result they brought, how quickly they put a plan together or team together, and how quickly they got the result, what long-term implications resulted from their actions. And they're going to want confirmation that the candidate both led the activity that led to the achievement and came up with the ideas that went into it. Those are the primary dimensions. We call those the seven dimensions. Secondary to those would be dimensions that provide context and added value. The first one is diagnosis of the challenge. It's one thing to be handed a problem and then solve it. It's another entirely to be able to figure out what the problem is when no one else can. Exceeding goal for solution. They want you to get it done in 6 months, but you get it done in 90 days. That adds tremendous value. Complicating factors. These are always a part of an executive's career. You're solving a large problem, and small problems come up along the way. By solving those, you add another layer, additional benefits realized. The validation of your efforts are when a company declares what you did a standard operating procedure or a best practice and duplicates it in other markets. Adding these to the seven dimensions adds tremendous value and the potential for significant salary increases. The tertiary dimensions used to be the old standard. These provided similarity and context. For example, who recruited you, whether you were recruited by HR or board or C-level, where you fell within the reporting structure, what your duties and responsibilities were, the number of direct and indirect reports, the size of your budget and overall P&L, and of course, your company's overall revenue and their line of business. These 20 questions are the keys to getting high-level interviews. The more depth your resume contains and the closer you get to these 20 dimensions, the more likely you get interviewed. That's our seven-dimensional resume introduction. If you're curious to learn more, you can either watch the next video or fill out the form below. Thank you for your time.